Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. In this video, we're going to be discussing some rather recent information that's come to light with respect to the Trump administration's proposed policies with respect to the possibility of changing certain aspects of the immigration system and also just some general policy guidelines or maybe policy paradigm to think about for those who are undertaking immigration processing. Recently, Trump administration immigration policy priorities. This is an executive summary. One can go online and find this. This is government information. But this is just the executive summary, and we're just going to kind of go over some of the broader strokes. Notably, it's broken out into three parts: border security, interior enforcement, and merit-based immigration system. I'm not going to go into too much with respect to border security, although probably those who are reading about this stuff know that, things like the border wall and all of this is discussed. Immigration laws and visa overstays. Basically, they're talking about creating more ICE officers. That's Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Those are the folks that go after people who are on overstay in the United States or who are overstaying their visa and or working illegally or entering illegally, etc. They're essentially the enforcement arm of the immigration apparatus. The biggest one I thought was interesting. Well, one thing that's specifically bullet pointed in here under the interior enforcement: improve visa security by expanding State Department's authority to combat visa fraud, ensuring funding of the visa security program, and expanding it to high-risk posts. As noted previously, whenever they sort of state high-risk posts, that can be broader than people like lay people would sort of assume. That being said, I think that enhanced security involving the visa process is just an inevitability. I think it's fairly clear that this administration is pretty intent on seeing that happen. In another video where we're discussing the specific points that Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, announced, I go into a little bit more on how, as a practical matter, this sort of enhanced or heightened security with respect to visa issuance is going to probably affect those undertaking the process. The final thing of note is under merit-based immigration system, two things noted: establish reforms that protect American workers and promote financial success. And this one's pretty important. And extended family chain migration by limiting family-based green cards to include spouses and minor children. As can be seen in other videos on this channel, there are various ways in which, now they're preference categories, but there are various ways in which relatives of American lawful permanent residents or American citizens can immigrate to the United States. Most notably, parents of U.S. citizens can file for immigrant benefits, and the processing time is relatively quick. Brothers and sisters, on the other hand, of U.S. citizens, their processing time is quite extended. That being said, I think it's fairly safe to assume that under this administration, we're probably going to see an end to the parent immigrant visas, and probably going to see an end to the brother-sister immigrant visas. In fact, in various proposals of the so-called RAISE Act, which is discussed at length in another video on this channel, the proposed act pretty much writes out both brothers and sisters and parents, and I think that it's pretty safe to assume the Trump administration is probably going to get this legislation passed. And if they do, I think one of the big things that's going to happen is, for sure on brothers and sisters, maybe with parents they might create a framework whereby it's possible to immigrate. It's possible for the parents of U.S. citizens to immigrate, but it may be more difficult or more protracted. Remains to be seen, though. Finally, establish a point-based system for green cards to protect U.S. workers and taxpayers. Again, this is discussed at length in another video on the RAISE Act. The Trump administration is basically, other countries actually use this rather frequently. Thailand, with respect to things like lawful permanent residence and Thai citizenship, utilizes a points-based system where they look at the education and background of the individual in question. Singapore is pretty well known for using this as well. Things like advanced degrees, contributions to the nation, etc., are used to provide extra points whereby an individual gets a better grade and therefore moves on through the process, whereas someone who's deficient in necessary points is not going to be able to move on through the process and will probably see their request for benefits denied. I think it's pretty safe to say, especially in an employment-based visa capacity, not so much a family-based capacity, because a point system doesn't really make sense in that context. But I think in an employment-based capacity, yes, I think very soon we're probably going to see some kind of points-based system for those who are seeking visas to the United States in order to undertake work. Just a general point to consider for any of those folks who are watching this video and want some information or sort of want to know how this is going to work with respect to family-based processing. As with everything in U.S. immigration, since this administration took over, I think it's very safe to assume higher scrutiny, longer processing times. Just generally speaking, I don't mean to be an alarmist or sort of a Chicken Little about these matters, but quite honestly, it's going to be slower to get this stuff done. The security infrastructure is probably going to be enhanced, and as a result of that, we're looking at longer processing times and heavier scrutiny by officers who are adjudicating these matters.